New York City, in New Jersey, in North Carolina, in Missouri, and in Pennsylvania. In his life and his death, he brought together groups of people who are sitting here today, different groups. He brought together the old and the young. He brought together Catholics and Protestants. He brought together athletes and spectators. And he brought together veterans and non-veterans. We know, based on our relationship with him, whether it was in childhood or as an adult, we realize there's a part of him that we either admired or that we loved. And we know from his letters, we know from his smile, we know from his ability to laugh with us and to laugh at us, and his willingness to engage us in conversation, go out of the way and do things for us. We know that we loved him as well. When groups come together and celebrate, and love is one of the reasons that they gather, the following scripture from 2 Corinthians is usually read. I may speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but if I am without love, I am a sounding gong or clanging cymbal. I may have the gift of prophecy and know every hidden truth. I may have faith strong enough to move mountains, but if I have no love, I am nothing. I may dole out all that I possess, or even give my body to be burned, but if I have no love, I am none the better. Love is patient, love is kind, it envies no one. Love's never boastful, never conceited, nor rude, nor selfish, nor quick to take offense. Love keeps no score of the wrongs, does not gloat over other men's or women's sins, but delights in truth. There is nothing love cannot face. There is no limits to its faith, its hope, and its endurance. Love will never end. In a word, there are three things: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of them is love. 40 years ago, like many of you, I struggled. I struggled with this tragedy, and I wondered what possible good could come out of this tragedy. And I struggled, in writing my remarks, not only for this tragedy, but tragedies that we may face in the future, is how can we take our sorrow and turn it into joy? And fortunately, I was reading a devotion in the Upper Room, a Methodist publication, and I came across a devotion that a son wrote about his father's suicide and the tragedy in his family. And I'd like to read a portion of that to you now, because his thoughts kind of paralleled mine. And he also gave me an answer to my question. And this is from his devotion. He says, "This act shattered our family. For a time we wandered in confusion and doubt. It was difficult to accept that a loving God would allow something so painful to enter our lives. In countless ways, God provided for our daily needs when we were too devastated to care. We may never know why my father took his life. We may not know in this lifetime or understand why God allowed it to happen. But we are certain of God's ability to make all things, even tragedy, work for good. God took the sorrow of death and turned it into a lesson about joy of life. Today, the members of my family are careful to listen to each other more intently, to regard each other more highly, and to cherish the time we have together. I encourage you for any tragedy that you have faced, any tragedy that unfortunately you may face, that one way to turn your sorrow into joy is to listen to each other more intently, regard each other more highly, and treasure and cherish the time you have together. How can we continue to honor our friend Ken? We've honored him today, and you have honored him today with your presence. We've honored him and remembered him with our words and our laughter. But after today, can we continue to honor him? We know there's a continuous flow of veterans back into our society who need our assistance. We know there are athletic teams in every city in this country that could use our help. And we also know there are people in need everywhere. We can honor our Ken, and I personally intend to do that by giving something of ourselves back to any of these. Finally, I wondered, what would Ken say to us today? If he could send us a message, he could just stand here for a minute, what would he say to us today? I pondered this, and I didn't come up with a lot of answers, but then I remembered that I was at a grave site in mountains of North Carolina, just walking through the cemetery, and I came across this poem, and this poem was on the gravestone. It was written by a Mary Fry in 1932, and I think, knowing Ken, I think this might be the kind of message, maybe not in the exact words, but the kind of message that he would send to us. Do not stand on my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on the snow. I am the sunlight on the ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you wake in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft starlight at night. Do not stand on my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. Do not stand on my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Thank you for coming. I would like to conclude with a benediction. Jim, would you do that for us?